Welcome to the Centers for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, and happy Mother's Day 2025 to everyone. Such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And you are that opportunity, and so am I, and so it is. Whoever you are, whatever path brought you here today, please know that you are welcome and celebrated. We know you are an individual expression of divine life in which we all live and move and have our being. You are life's opportunity to be someone unique and wonderful. Whatever your ethnic background, religious affiliation, however you know yourself or describe yourself, your pronouns of gender identities, we are glad you are joining us here today. You are welcome to become a part of this community in whatever way serves you. This is our vision statement. We are a strong, open, globally connected community centered on the clarity of principle through teaching, service, and practice. We create a safe and respectful environment that supports healthy spiritual growth. And now, our Declaration of Principles as written and abbreviated, by our founder, Ernest Holmes.
A few of the Declaration of Principles we live by.
I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding.
I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
So grateful, hey.
So it is. So a practitioner is someone who's demonstrated the ability to use spiritual practice and spiritual laws to bring about great changes in their lives. They've demonstrated that they know how to bring about these changes in others when asked. And they're licensed by the Centers for Spiritual Living. They're available to help you provide spiritual guidance and support you in those areas where you're looking for assistance. You may contact us through our website, cslmidtown.org. And today we've got one of our wonderful practitioners to share good ideas in affirmative prayer called Spiritual Mind Treatment. Welcome our practitioner this morning, Maya Fuller. Thanks.
Thank you, Vance. Thank you. Good morning, CSL Midtown. Happy Mother's Day to each of you. Whether you're a mother, you're honoring one, remembering one, or simply giving thanks for someone in your life who loved you with that nurturing, mothering energy. I won't hold you long. I know some folks are headed out to celebrate. Maybe catch a game, enjoy brunch, or spend time with family. But before we move into the rest of our service, let's take a moment to connect in spirit with a spiritual mind treatment in celebration and honor of motherhood in all its forms. So as I say this treatment, I'm going to say it in the first person, and I invite you to accept for yourself whatever resonates with your heart. Today, on this Mother's Day, I take a moment to turn inward and remember the deep, loving presence that holds all of life. I call it spirit or God or simply love. And I recognize that this loving presence is always here. It nurtures, guides, and sustains everything. It is the source of all that is good. I know that I am one with this presence. The love of spirit moves through me and through everyone I've ever known. This energy of love is the breath behind all things. It shows up in quiet moments, in warm meals, in someone standing by your side when life feels heavy. It shows up in the hands that held us, the voices that calmed us, the strength that carried us. It's not limited by biology or form. It is the sacred movement of care and compassion through humanity. This love moves through the mothers who raised us, the ones who gave birth to us, and the ones who chose to care for us. It moves through every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, and every moment of care we've ever received or given from anyone, anywhere. Whether we are mothers ourselves, whether we have mothers or have been mothers or been mothered by others, we are connected through the thread of love. So today, I choose to let go of any pain or judgment I might carry about my experience around mothering, motherhood, mother. If forgiveness is needed, I open the door to it now. I'm gentle with myself and I just open the door. If grief is present, I allow space for healing. I know that I am not separate from love and that love is never lost. So I allow love's healing energy to do what it will. As I move on, affirming that I am surrounded by love, held in peace, and grounded in wholeness. I affirm that the qualities we often associate with mothers, nurturing, resilience, tenderness, devotion, are qualities of the divine, and they live within me and within all of us. So I pause right now to honor that connection. I take a breath and I invite us to each bring to mind someone who offered us that presence, that love, that warmth. Let that memory settle into your heart. Maybe a smile, a hug, a sacrifice shows up. Let that energy of care surround you and envelop your consciousness right now. I honor every expression of mothering in my life with gratitude, compassion, and deep respect. I honor those who did their best with what they had, and I honor those who helped carry me when I couldn't carry myself. I give thanks for the love that has shaped me, for the love that I have had the chance to give. I'm thankful for the care, the memories, and even the lessons that helped me grow. I give thanks for all the mothers, biological, chosen, spiritual, whose presence continues to ripple through the world. And now I let this word of love go. I release it into the law, knowing that peace, love, and healing are already unfolding within me, through me, as me, all around me, throughout this world right now. I trust the process, I trust the love, and I let it be. And so it is.
Welcome back. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker this morning. She's a frequent speaker for us and a member of our community. Reverend Cynthia Paulsen is an interfaith and religious science minister, a divine science spiritual practitioner, motivational speaker, and author. Her sermons and workshops are deeply rooted in New Thought principles, inspiring personal growth and transformation. She's an author of Undoing the Knots, Reclaiming Our Good. She's currently working on her Doctor of Divinity with the Emerson Institute and is writing a new book and is happy to be living in Brookings, Oregon. Welcome back, Reverend Cynthia.
Thank you, Dan. Can we just take a moment to talk about how incredible that treatment was that Maya just gave for us? Thank you so much, Maya. You know it's good when you start tearing up. I mean, wow, that I needed that treatment. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let me get myself together here. Excuse me. Good morning, CSL Midtown. I'm so happy to be with you today on Mother's Day. So I subscribe to a lot of like social media accounts and email blog things for clergy, for ministers, right? And this past week, I have been seeing some interesting articles about Mother's Day. Did you know that there is a shift happening in churches and in spiritual centers to not acknowledge Mother's Day anymore, to avoid it altogether and not call attention to mothers or celebrate mothers during the Sunday service? And the reason is because this can be a painful day for people. So I know from experience, as someone who has given a few Mother's Day talks in the past, that it is very hard to address every possible family situation and scenario. And I learned this the hard way. Let me tell you a story. So the second sermon that I ever gave was on Mother's Day. This was probably like 12 or 13 years ago. It was for a United Church of Christ church, a very, liberal, progressive church with an open pulpit. I could have talked about anything I wanted. They were great. And so I tried to include everyone in this Mother's Day talk. Women who wanted children and couldn't conceive, mothers who adopted their children, women who didn't want children and did not have children, aunts who served as mothers for their nieces or nephews, men and women who were estranged from their mothers or had abusive mothers or absent mothers, people whose mothers had passed away, and on and on and on. And I thought I had it all covered. Rookie mistake, right? So I kid you not, after the service, this gentleman came up to me and said, kind of angrily, "You forgot to mention men whose wives died and they had to be mothers for their children." I felt so bad for him. So what I'm saying is it can be a weird day for people, but I still love Mother's Day. And I really wanted to talk about it. And I say that as someone whose mother has made her transition. She is here with me in spirit. And I also say that as someone, I'm a mother. I have an adult child who has set a boundary that I respect, and she wants no contact with me. So I still love Mother's Day. I love the energy and the idea behind this day. So if you celebrate Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. If you do not, happy Sunday to you. So let's talk about Mother's Day from a spiritual perspective. That's why we're all here today. This day can be about so much more than just honoring our human maternal relationships. We know we're not just human, right? Yes, we are here on earth as human beings, but we are also eternal souls, one with the divine and all the divine aspects and characteristics. This day can be about honoring the unity of all life, the wholeness that comes from acknowledging the sacred feminine. Now, I think this spiritual philosophy, Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind, does a better job of recognizing the sacred feminine than many other faith traditions. The Science of Mind straight up teaches that spirit is the Father, Mother, God, that the masculine and the feminine principles both come from the one. But it does feel like the rest of the world is kind of always acknowledging the sacred masculine. For centuries, we've been doing that. So to have a day to be focused on the maternal, feminine, nurturing nature of the divine is awesome. It's intriguing to me. What does that look like from a New Thought perspective? Now, before we dive into that, I feel like I'm kind of brushing up against and hinting at the gendered words and language that we use with regard to the divine. And it sounds like this is going to get a little feminist here. So, gentlemen, don't get nervous. What was the Little Rascals Club, the He-Man Woman Haters Club? This will not be a she-woman man haters club talk. Okay, don't worry. So let's touch on this language idea. And we're going to, I'm going to use a quote from Glennon Doyle. If you don't know who Glennon Doyle is, she is a stellar human being, I think. She is an author, an activist, a podcaster. She has a new book out, actually, I think this week. And a few years ago, she wrote a very popular book called Untamed. And in it, she refers to God as a she. And she tells the story in the book about how she was asked once, "Why do you believe that God's a female?" And she replied, "I don't. I think it's ridiculous to think of God as anything that could possibly be gendered. But as long as the expression of God as female is unimaginable to many, while the expression of God as male feels perfectly acceptable, and as long as women continue to be undervalued and abused and controlled here on earth, I'll keep using it." Okay. We might get a little squirrely when we hear things like that. She's got a point. That's all I'll say about that. Because, of course, the real point is that whatever we call God, the one power, the one presence, the one life, one consciousness, it is far beyond gender and gender language. Truly, it shouldn't matter what words we use. He, she, it. The science of mind uses it, a gender neutral word, because God is all. God is the spiritual truth of wholeness, all parts as one. So coming back to this maternal stuff happening today, there is a Princeton theological professor named Yolanda Pierce, and she wrote a great article called "Why God is a Mother Too." And in it, she says, God is creator and sustainer. God is protector and defender. God is mother and father. If we're humble, we know that human words and metaphors are incomplete and can never do justice to describing the majesty of who God is. I always think of God more as a what, not a who, more like a principle than a person or a being. But you get the idea of what she's saying. We don't have the language for this. God is all, I'll say again, mother, father, feminine, masculine, female, male, everything in between, all. There is a great passage in the Science of Mind where Ernest Holmes talks about the mother, father, God, and it's frankly like a mic drop moment, so just buckle up for this. Ernest Holmes in the Science of Mind, referencing Matthew 12 in the Bible, where Jesus is told that his mother and brethren are waiting to speak with him. But he answers, "Who is my mother? Who are my brethren?" He tells them that whoever does the will of God is my mother, sister, and brother. And then this is the part where Ernest Holmes is talking. He says, "We are not to suppose by this that Jesus did not care for his earthly parents or friends. He was explaining that anyone who lives in harmony with the truth automatically becomes the brother, the sister, or the mother of all." That's a mic drop moment. Whoever lives in harmony with the truth automatically becomes the brother, sister, or mother of all. So that sounds to me like he is saying it's not really about these human labels. We love to label our relationships, don't we? And it's not about that. It's about getting to the heart of and knowing the truth of our inherent oneness. The common denominator in all of these relationships, mother, father, brother, sister, all these forms, these beings, these expressions, What they have in common is the one life, one infinite consciousness that is within all of them, no matter what we want to label it. So it's an even bigger story than a mother story. Mother's Day is bigger than mothers from a spiritual perspective. And I think to understand this better, we have to be willing to go bigger in our minds, draw the circle wider, make this more universal. It's a capital L life story. Now, for humans, that process can look like man, woman, birth of a child. But it can also look like new life springing forth in nature, or seeds beginning to sprout, inventions being created, concepts and solutions being born, or new ideas being made manifest. That is creation and the creative process that we're all a part of. The wholeness of the process includes all aspects of life, masculine and feminine, father and mother, again, everything in between. So the sacred, maternal, feminine aspects of the divine have actually been a part of our spiritual, religious stories for centuries. Before I became a religious science minister, I worked as an interfaith minister. And in my interfaith studies, I came across a female Buddha figure called Tara. And this was in the beginning of like the 6th century. She was considered a savior and rescuer who guided people on their spiritual path, leading practitioners of Buddhism to develop, compassion, liberation, and love. The Tao Te Ching is the classic Chinese wisdom text and the foundation for Taoism. This was written around the 4th century, and there's a verse of it that's dedicated to the mysterious female energy that, like a mother, continuously gives birth to new life. Those who practice Taoism believe that it's that energy that encourages us to listen to our inner callings, because we come from an all-encompassing, endlessly creative divine mother. Now, I think it's interesting to see references to this universal feminine aspect of the divine in ancient traditions, and then see Ernest Holmes centuries later in The Science of Mind describe the creative medium, the soul of the universe, as the universal feminine, because it is receptive and endlessly creative. It's the law that says yes to your thoughts and creates things into form automatically. So these ideas aren't really new. We just don't always notice them and pay attention to them. It sounds almost cliche to bring this up, but we refer to nature as Mother Nature, but we don't really stop to think about why. It makes sense to me that those life-giving, nurturing, sustaining aspects of nature, the beauty and the power and the harmony, are like a mother. Wisdom is another example that's, considered a feminine aspect of the divine. The Christian Bible even personifies divine wisdom in scripture as a woman, using the pronoun she to describe it, viewing it as a nurturing, persuasive force associated with motherhood and care. So God, or whatever we call it, spirit, universe, source, the feminine characteristics of it are real. Matthew Fox wrote in his book, One River, Many Wells, that the tradition of God as female and divinity as mother are deep among world religions. There is liberation in this insight and awareness. We liberate God as we liberate ourselves. The feminine insists on being heard today. I loved that quote because, yes, today, Mother's Day, the feminine is being heard. It's everywhere you look. If you walk into a grocery store today, you will see all the flower bouquets and the greeting cards and balloons and plants. If you try to go out to a restaurant today for brunch or lunch or dinner without a reservation, good luck. Good luck to you. Whew. Honoring the maternal, the feminine, the female is happening today. It's everywhere. Now, somehow society decided that mothers want flowers and cards and to be taken out to lunch, which is great. No complaints. I'll take lunch. That sounds great. Now, that idea might come from florists and greeting card companies and the restaurant industry, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's what they really want. There's an essay in my book called What Moms Really Want. It's about Mother's Day. And it's based on my experience as a mom. I think moms want their kids to get along, especially when they're younger. I had 3 girls in the span of 5 years, less than 5 years. So for Mother's Day, when my kids were younger, all I ever wanted was the day of no fighting. I wanted my children to recognize the oneness, the unity, and the harmony within them because they came from the same source. That is a very abstract, hard thing for children to grasp. That was our little family. We were like the micro version of life. And when we zoom out and look at the macro version of life, all the expressions of life, all the children of God in humanity, the divine Mother, Father, God, Spirit, universe is also waiting for all the children to get to the heart of our oneness, unity, and harmony because we come from the same source. Micro, macro. So one last thing I want to touch on today is, since it is Mother's Day, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the mother of the New Thought movement. Did you know there was a mother of New Thought? And by New Thought, I mean it's like an umbrella term for our organization, Centers for Spiritual Living. It also includes the Unity Teaching and Divine Science churches. They still exist. Now, we know our founding text is The Science of Mind, which was written by Ernest Holmes, who is very much a man. But his teacher was a woman named Emma Curtis Hopkins. And the internet refers to her as the mother of New Thought because she taught all the people who started these New Thought organizations. She taught the Fillmores, who started Unity. She taught the Brooks sisters and Melinda Kramer, who started Divine Science. And Ernest Holmes was one of her last students. She taught roughly 50,000 students. 50,000 students. Can we just pause a moment to acknowledge, like, holy cow, Emma, that's a lot. This was in the late 1800s. Emma Curtis Hopkins was the first woman to ordain others as a minister in modern times. And I found this interesting. In her first class, out of the 22 graduating students, 20 of them were women. This was at a time when women couldn't vote. They could hold office or hold property. And she created her own thriving school and spiritual movement. One thing that I found so fascinating was once her school began flourishing, Emma Curtis Hopkins presented her work at the World Fair, the Great Chicago World Fair and Exposition. This was in 1893. But she did not present in the religions pavilion. There was, they had different pavilions and areas set up. That would have been the logical place for her to go. But she chose to present her work in the women's pavilion, where women's rights and opportunities were being showcased. She chose to sit alongside groups that were working for suffrage and fair labor and temperance. Her focus was on empowerment rather than the formation of a religion. And that is my favorite thing about Emma Curtis Hopkins. Her approach to this spiritual philosophy was about empowerment. She focused on teaching her students to go out into the world and heal others and teach others, which is how we ended up with all these organizations. It was about teaching people that they could do this for themselves. I think that is a very feminine, maternal approach to spirituality. If you think about it, like we can rate the achievement of a mother by how well she has empowered her children to live a successful life without her, to do for themselves. So the New Thought spiritual movement is not about exerting control over people or about, codifying behavior. It's about empowering us to understand God consciousness for ourselves so that we can live our best life. And as someone who works as a religious science minister and a divine science practitioner, that is exactly what the work is still today. When someone comes to me for a practitioner session for help or for healing, my goal, my job is always for them to leave my office feeling fully empowered by spiritual principle, to have a shift in consciousness for themselves. So my point is not to exalt Emma Curtis Hopkins as much as it is to just acknowledge that this teaching would not be what it is today without her influence and guidance. So I am grateful for Mama Emma. I am grateful for the Divine Sacred Feminine. And I am grateful for all of you, CSL Midtown. I've had so much fun with this today. Sorry about the mic issue. Have a great Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day and happy Sunday.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. Awesome talk this morning. Yeah, that divine feminine is definitely there and alive with us. So thank you, and we'll see you on Zoom in just a little bit. All right. So now we have our opportunity to go over our new minister sacred covenant easy prayer. So I'm going to read this, and you can read it along with me. There's a copy on the website, cslmidtown.org. Scroll down. You can download your own copy and read it every day to help us with this. There is only one life. This life is good. This life is God. This life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life that is God, I therefore know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to express spirit, I therefore know that my new minister is a revelation of spirit as principle. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which has been promised by God, for it is written, principle is not bound by precedent. It operates according to law, and it is always available to those who are willing to align themselves with it. As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister before me as inspiring spiritual oneness through wisdom, love, and authenticity. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing this truth about myself. For I am inspired to live as love in the expression of principle. I am awakening the wisdom within me by clearly communicating the principles of universal truth. I am a conduit of divine love, wisdom, and healing energy, recognizing the inherent wholeness within all beings. I am offering teachings, classes, and mystical studies grounded in spiritual principles to cultivate inner wisdom, personal transformation, and empowered living. I'm extending the love, compassion, and transformative power of spirit into the wider community, fostering connections that heal, uplift, and support individuals in their unique journeys. As I now accept the highest expression of a new minister into my life, I know that they will be revealed in a way that will express spirit and serve the highest and greatest good of all who are touched by their presence. I am grateful God is gracious, and so it is. And now it's time for our conscious giving. So, Cynthia's talk was awesome. We bring you these awesome speakers each and every week, either in person the first week of the month or virtually online the rest of the Sundays of the month. So if you would, with me, say our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. You can donate at cslmidtown.org/donate, which was on the banner, or use the QR code that was there. A couple of announcements. So next week we have Reverend James Peake, who will be with us. Peace be with you, as you. He's a great speaker, and so welcome back to that. On Sundays, before the service at 10 a.m., we have a discussion group. They're going through the Science of Mind textbook, big textbook. Each and every week, you don't have to have read that section before to join in the discussion, but they're doing that. So if you'd like to join in that, it's a great group that's doing that. Like I said, download the New Minister Sacred Covenant Prayer from the website and add your own statements, your own I am statements. There's some space for you to do that as well. So with that, join us afterwards for a discussion with Reverend Cynthia. And now let's do our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And you can join us on Zoom. Go to the cslmidtown.org page, scroll down, there's a Zoom link with a passcode if you're not already there. And have a great week, everybody.